You are listening to a MetalExpressRadio.com interview. Enjoy.
Hi, this is Mick Burgess, and I'm now joined backstage at Northumbria University with Dave Hill from Demon. Dave, how are we doing?
We're doing very well, actually. We've just had a 3 or 4 hour journey up, and looking forward to playing tonight.
I mean, there's some great bands on the bill tonight. You know, we had Oliver Dawson Saxon last night, Battle Axe, Saracen to play tonight, Tokyo Blade. I mean, are there some old faces there you look forward to catching up with?
I mean, it's funny because when people talk about old faces and different eras, I mean, you know, we probably don't see people as much as the guests and the fans. You know, we cross sometimes. I think with Mithra, we were in Barcelona before Christmas, and they were on the bill there. So now and then, you know, from where we all originated, which was obviously the most of the time with us, the new wave of British heavy metal, which is referred to. So, but yeah, I mean, there is people we do bump into quite regularly. Old faces, getting older.
So, what's the show going to hold for us tonight?
I think in some ways, I mean, what we would to use loosely a greatest hits. You know, we've had 13 albums out, and you know, we have to gear to wherever we go in the world. We have to sort of gear to 3, 4, 5 numbers that we always do, which we can't, you know, else we sort of get lynched if we don't play certain ones. And if you've only got an hour, then you know, we've got a choice of about 90 numbers to try and pick from. So yeah, I mean, the numbers tonight are what people know as from the old days and from, you know, even recent.
Yeah, because I was thinking, because it's more of a metallic sort of audience today, so I thought you might sort of veer more towards the you know, the earlier stuff rather than
we've got plenty of early stuff in, you know, like United the Demons and from the first album Don't Break the Circle, which is wherever we go in the world, if you don't play Don't Break the Circle, then we're in big trouble. So it's a bit like the Animals have got to play the House of the Rising Sun to
but you still enjoy playing it.
Well, I mean, that's what it's all about at the end of the day. I mean, you know, when we started 35 years ago and we did Night of the Demon, I wouldn't have imagined that 2 years later, never mind 35 years later, that we could go anywhere in the world and people would know. But we go, you know, Europe, America, we've been everywhere, and people know the stuff. You know, it's so basically you've got to give them what they want, and it's a thank you for us, because if they want to Night of the Demon, Don't Break the Circle, Plague, blah blah blah, then they can hear it.
Because I know you were, especially in the early days, you were always known as a very visual live band. I always remember that demon costume and the Father Time mask. Do you still do any of that, or is it?
No, not these days. I mean, but we've not really. I mean, it was just something that you know, that suited the bill, suited the latex suits, and coming out of graves, and I wouldn't say it was sensationalism, but I suppose in some ways it was. It just fitted what we were doing. But yeah, we moved on. I mean, I think the music moved on anyways as well.
Yes, it does,
because we've always tried to keep the music fairly modern, obviously keep it with our own particular sound, and we've always tried to move on with technology. And, you know, with the stage thing, I mean, you can't 35 years later, you know, I could get an latex suit, perhaps I could get it. We've still got it. Hangs in someone's shed, might hang. But no, it's not practical. We did it about 10 years ago in Sweden. In Sweden Rock, they actually built a stage set.
Right.
And it was the first time since... I think in '82 when we did Unexpected Guest. I mean, we only did it about 15 times with the suit, and, but because obviously there was a lot of photos taken, there wasn't very little recordings of it. There is a video that's done the rounds, and it is out of that period, and wearing the suit and you know, the various costumes, but. I think, you know, you can't be doing that forever. It's you've got to move on. And
I think maybe only if you're like Paul Stanley, you can shoehorn yourself into your lycra trousers and your big boots.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's getting $2 million a night, so if somebody offers us $2 million, I'll get into anything for that sort of money. But no, I mean, it's horses for courses. I think we've established ourselves over the years where we've been. from the music point of view, and I draw that unless you can, unless we played with Kiss in Sweden actually a couple of years ago, and I mean they had just had every pyrotechnics, and I think if you know, I don't want to make a fool of ourselves doing Demon thing on a very much a shoestring, because it was done in those days, and I think it was quite sincere, but you know, you need your big productions. That's and you know, if we ever had the opportunity, I suppose yes we'd do it, but you know, more practical, we obviously concentrate on being a good band and giving the people what they want.
Yeah, because there's been quite a few lineup changes over the years. So how long's the current lineup been together as a unit?
We've been together quite some time. The current lineup, we were just talking about it coming up today, that I would think somewhere in the region of 10 years.
Yeah.
And previous to that, the keyboard player was in with us a little bit earlier than that. He did a tour in Europe, I think in 2001, Carl. But basically, it's a fairly steady lineup and getting on for about 10 years together now.
Yeah, because back in, I think it was 92, you sort of decided to call it a day for a while. What was going on?
Well, we've got all this press about that, but no, we didn't actually. I mean, I've been doing, on the new album, I've been doing just absolutely hundreds of interviews all over the place. I think the press handout has said that we had a period where we... No, I mean, what we did, we didn't put an album out from when was it, 92 till 93 maybe, to early 2000 when Space Set Monkey came out. But the band continued. I did a solo album at the time with a company in Nuremberg, but basically, no, the band kept going. It was just the fact that, you know, we didn't put anything out, so there was a gap of no material, but we continued mainly in Europe, Germany, Sweden, and you know, because like Sweden in the early days we had a couple of top 20 albums and things, so basically we've always gone back to those places.
Because your latest album came out a few months ago, Cemetery Junction. Your 13th album. I mean, the reviews have been pretty great, really.
It's stunning. I mean, it's the best. I mean, I've done all the interviews and you know, with people from Australia, all the Europeans and Americans, and we had phenomenal. In the 35 years we've been making albums and releasing them, I think overall, I've said to a lot of people, it's very nice after 35 years when the reviews and the response is as good as we've had. You know, so we've done something right.
I mean, it would be easy for a band who's got your heritage to sit back and live off their history.
Well, I mean, there's always gigs coming in, and like you were saying earlier, people want to reunite the team and the guests, blah blah blah. But every time we've approached an album, for me personally, it was always, you know, I was brought up, let's try and make one better than we made before, and you know, that was the same again with this one.
So it's important to stay creative, really, for you.
Very much so.
To keep your sanity.
Well, and the people I work with are creative, and you know, so it's just great to get that sort of response we've had, and we've had some good sales, and you know, we're doing a video this week from a couple of the tracks off the album, so we've never done a proper video in 35 years of the band, so
still doing new stuff.
So we've set somebody on, and he's gonna, you know, he's done a stage thing, and so we're going to do this week.
Because you know, over the years, you've had Mal Spooner's been one of your main writing partners, and Steve Watts and Steve Brooks. What about now? Who's your main writing partner?
Well, recently on this album, the main Ray Walmsley, who's been with us 20 years, Ray. 97 he came, and Neil Ogden. We three have done, you know, all the basic writing of the tracks on the album. I mean, Neil's been with us 20 years now, so and the last album, Unbroken, which did well for us and all, which basically featured the writing of Neil and myself, and the album previous to that, Battle of the Devil, you know, that was, I mean, what's happened, I think, over the last 15-20 years, it's been basically the three of us, you know, that have done the groundwork, as we say, to create the track before we take it to the boys and into the studio. But it's very creative, so, you know, it works really good.
Because lyrically, you know, you've covered a whole range of not the usual topics, you know, politics, social comedy, war. You know, the one that stands out for me is, you know, your call for peace, Remembrance Day. It's stunning.
Hey, we're not doing that tonight. We haven't rehearsed it.
I mean, what issues have sort of inspired you to write about for the current album?
Well, I forever do have a book or a pad, call it what you like, over the years, and I make notes of things that. Because at the end of the day, a lot of people can write good love songs. I wouldn't call myself a writer of love songs. I just love topics and I love certain things. If it strikes a chord, I'll make some notes. And, I mean, well, with the new album, what have we got is Oh, Just Like Me, which is basically about man of old and man of new. It is basically, we're all the same at the end of the day. We've moved on and progressed. Life in Berlin, the second track, was basically Mike's mum was a Berliner, and so Germany's always been good to us.
It's got a great chorus that as well.
Yeah, I love that chorus, the funny thing is, I must tell you, I've done all the interviews with the Germans and I know them quite well, and they say to us, because Berlin's a bit like London, it's not the rock capital of Germany. You know, it's sort of Hamburg, it's Stuttgart, it's you name it, Dusseldorf, anywhere else, but Hamburg, Berlin is very much like sort of London. So I done interviews with people in Hamburg and people in Dortmund or wherever, and they said, why have you called it, this is the Germans, why have you called it Life in Berlin? We like it, it's great, but Berlin, they say, is not a rock capital, it's very indie. So I said, well, I tried singing Life in Stuttgart and Life in Hamburg. I said to me, I've got a sense of humour doing it. And I said, at the end of the day, I said, it sang wonderful, Life in Berlin. I said, even though it's not my favourite city in Germany, I said, it worked. So basically, I said, we've got friends there, it's a nice place. So it was Life in Berlin. It just happened while Neil and myself were writing it. And you always sing something, whether you end up with that lyric. And I just happened to be singing Life in Berlin, and it just seemed to stick. So I know Berlin well, so I put a few places I know, and and that's sort of Life in Berlin. We got things like Best Is Yet to Come, which to me, I've always been a big fan of the Mad Max films, and I saw the new one, that, and I thought, I like the sort of zany and the madness, and so basically the Best Is Yet to Come. I thought, what we got to do, I had a word with the keyboard player, could do with this being almost like it was a third to something with a film. So Neil and myself wrote the track and had these ideas, so we spent a lot of time doing the production, and that's come out, it's exactly what we wanted, but it was just a topic of references to people, things like Mad Max, and then obviously what have we got else on it? There's one on there which is a Miracle, which my sister some years ago, she had a bad strain of meningitis, and they said she's not going to live. They gave her virtually 1,000 to 1. By a miracle, she actually came round. So I did a little song for her ages ago, not thinking it's ever going to turn out into a demon. So we did this track, and then when we started working the album stuff, everybody said, "Oh, we want to work on that Miracle." So we did, and so that turned out, and that's been they've all been quite liked. And the last track, Someone's Watching You, which is very much, I suppose, it's like a modern day Night of the Demon, really. You look over your shoulder, and I've always liked that sort of. I still like, even though we talk about politics and about life, I still like that little sort of unknown element, and it really worked well. In fact, that's the one we're doing a video of this week. And the title track, Cemetery Junction. I mean, basically, to be quite honest, there was a film of Cemetery Junction some years ago. Nothing to do with that. In a place where we live in Leek, there is a cemetery in Junction Road. And not to go on a long story, but I used to be involved in a record shop many years ago, and a character used to come in there. He's gone now, but he used to come in and say, I've lived in the past, I've done this. And anyway, it's a long story for another day, but and he always said to me, he said, I've lived before, and I said, oh, we've got a cranky coming in the shop. But then things happened a little bit, and the guy passed away. But he always said to me, he said, I'll be in touch with you in the future. And some years ago, I was driving along, and I heard somebody mention on the radio, they were talking about Cemetery Junction. Well, it clicked in my head. I remember they buried this guy in Junction Road in Leek Cemetery. And I thought, I wonder if he's trying to get in touch with me. And I'm not saying it was, but we wrote the song Cemetery Junction, that was the essence of it. There's a lot more about the guy, but I'd bore you for half an hour if I told you. But I mean, he was a strange character, and there were certain things he did, and I just felt, one day I heard about Cemetery Junction, and I know I got it written down in my book. So that was that. But I mean, most of the stuff on the album it is, things true to life. Things. I mean, you mentioned Remembrance Day. I mean, many years ago. I mean, unfortunately, I was listening to TV radio, and the Inniskillen thing came on.
Good.
And I just thought, wow, that. And I wrote something down. I rang Steve Watts up. And I said, got something here. And I went straight over and explained what we've got. And we spent some time, obviously. We wrote Remembrance Day. And and to be quite honest, wherever we go, and we haven't got it in the set, but wherever we go, especially abroad, I mean, it's a bit like Duck Red Circle for us. We have to play Remembrance Day. We'll have to do it in Germany next week because they know it really well,
It's funny with that song. To me, I associate it with the Great War. I'm fascinated with that element of history, and I listen to those lyrics and I think of.
I mean, it is in a way it's open. It's like Lennon once said, "Imagine it's whatever you want it to be." To me, it's open, but the idea came about is because it was gut wrenching. One day, they blew a church up or whatever, and I thought, wow. And I just wrote something down. I had to go ring Steve up, and we got together, and we were there. But the point was, it was Remembrance Day.
It was,
and so basically, it does go back in time. But the idea came about. I mean, most people don't know it was the Inniskillen, but I suppose it doesn't matter.
I didn't realise for years later that it was linked to that.
Yeah. But I don't think that matters particularly because if people, feel we did the big military sounding band production as well.
Yes.
So that would reenact or represent the bands, on Poppy Day, and so really, I mean, it is about all that.
Yeah.
But the idea stemmed from a single act. So we're sorry we're not playing it.
Yeah, maybe when you headline next time.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah.
The first time I ever came across Demon was probably like a lot of people did. I heard Father Time on the Friday Rock Show. Had my granddad's old radio under the sheets with my head on the
wireless.
My head on the speaker.
Great.
This is great. And so, how important was back in those days was the Friday Rock Show and Sounds magazine in particular?
Important. Stunningly important. I think. I mean, it was obviously a different time. We all know, and there was. I seem to think. Obviously, we never got up here, but I always used to hear what a buzz there was in Newcastle with the new wave because it came from here, didn't it?
Neat Records. Yeah.
And yet we never came here. We were part of it. And I was just looking today at the thick new wave of British heavy metal book. I've got one at home, and a guy from Iron Pages in Berlin actually he put the book together and he gave it me. And you look through. But I mean, it was immensely important that the old, the old thing, the Tommy Vance, because it was almost like a religious experience. Friday Night Rock Show. Everybody, everywhere you went, people said, "Have you heard Friday Rock Show?" And then he'd start up and he'd say what he was going to play and he was going to feature. And I just found it like you, bloody hell, we're on the, here we go, we're on the radio. It's Father Time.
Probably got a bunch of tapes somewhere in the attic with it. If it can still play with all these sessions on.
But it was that important, and I think it's one of the great last sort of before the world changed. I think importance of music. It's like John Peel and people. Friday Rock Show seemed to be everybody listened to it.
Well, the Friday Rock Show to us was what John Peel was to the sort of more indie crowd. I think. Yeah. So
it's true. It's true, and it was held in such high esteem that I think you'd have preferred to be on Friday Rock Show than maybe on one of the TV shows at that point because it was important to get on there.
It's the only time we could hear any of this music. There's no internet. There was you never got on top of the pops. Or occasionally, you might get the odd Saxon or White.
Of course you could because it was a charter. And, but no, it was an important, because you're talking about I Am, and everywhere you go, people do talk about the importance of that show. I mean, must have had a lot of listeners. Because obviously, live music was as big as ever then. So people wanted to hear a Friday Rock Show and say, "I'll go and see them. That's the new Demon album. That's the new Winger. That's the new, you name it."
Well, best luck with the show tonight. It's great to see you, Newcastle.
Thank you. That's wonderful. Thank you very much. Pleasure.